Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Asian Football Show. This is episode 26. I'm Erfan Hoseiny, and I'm joined by Kenta Hagiwara. Unfortunately, Arya cannot be here with us today due to some personal issues. But Kenta, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on, I guess. Obviously Arya, wishing him and his family the best right now. But always excited to talk Asian football and no better company to do it with. So hope you're doing well as well.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, guys, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all our other socials as well. We're on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and of course on Twitter. Also, I wanted to thank you guys for the support you guys shown on the last episode, which was the interview, our first player interview, and hopefully there's more coming towards your way. So, without further ado, let's start with the club action. Uh, so we'll start off with the AFC Champions League Elite. So we'll go through match days 2 and 3 as we weren't able to cover the last one. So okay, in match day 2 of the West region, at Sad of Qatar defeated Esteghlal 2-0, unfortunately. This was ultimately the game that got um, Javad Nekunan finally sacked from Esteghlal. Persepolis drew 1-1 against Paktakor at home in a game where Persepolis were heavy favorites and expected to win, as that was one of their easier games. Al Wasl lost 2-0 to Al Ahli of Saudi Arabia. Al Nasser beat Al Rayan 2-1. Al Gharrafa beat Al Ain 4-2, and Al Hilal beat Al Shorta 5-0. So, Kent, are there any interesting results there? Any points you want to talk about from those match day 2 results?
Yeah, I wasn't overly surprised by any of these results. Obviously I think the big headline that everyone's gonna jump to is Ronaldo returning to the Champions League and his goal in that win for Al Nassr. Um, I think that game was pretty comfortable. I think for Al Nassr I don't think it was a not convincing win in that sense. And I'd also say the same for like Al Sadd, 2-0 win. It was very convincing in my eyes there. Took care of their chances, were really clinical in that sense. And Esteghlal had, I thought, decent opportunities, but nothing where I would consider it just like this massive opportunity that they missed. So I thought those two were really convincing wins. What were the other two? Oh, Al Ahly. They also won 2-0, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
They
2-0.
were all the way to.
Um, right. That was they just scored early, didn't they, in that match? Yeah,
Yeah,
Mara's
third
3rd minute goal.
minutes.
Yeah.
Just like their previous game against Persepolis, where
Yeah.
Kessie
That's
scored in the first minutes. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's just a really good thing to see if you're an LLE fan to see this team get off to really early starts because that especially in Champions League format when you can open up a game when you're leading, that's just fantastic. Because now teams can't just sit back, absorb pressure, especially when you're the favorite going into a matchup like this with really high profile attackers that a lot of these Saudi clubs have. Like for them to be able to get out to such an early lead and force teams to not be able to sit in that low mid block, that's a really good thing. So good for them. Yeah, I didn't catch this other match, so it looks like it was just a draw. Um, I'll let you talk about it because I did not catch this one.
Yeah. So I assume you're talking about Persepolis versus Spartakor, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Persepolis got off to a very good start with the Ali Alipur scoring from a corner. And it looked like everything was going through, everything was going their way. But then it was a very rainy night in Tehran, and the pitch was affected a bit. But in the 59th minute, who else but Dragan Cheran, the Serbian striker who's been playing for Portugal for a while now, and like they say, old is gold. A fantastic strike from outside the box to tie the game up. And Portugal had many opportunities. They could have even gotten all the 3 points. But I think they'd be happy with that point away in Tehran. And a lot of working to do for Persepolis. Another game I want to talk about also is Al Gharrafa's 4-2 win against Al Ain. Al Gharafa had a very difficult start, losing 3-0 to Esteghlal, but Joselu turned up here, and with Brahimi returning also, it was very good for them as they were able to get a 4-2 win against the defending champions. And then Al Hilal just completely dominated and demolished Al Shorta 5-0. Yeah, not much to talk about other than that. So let's move on to match day 2 of the East region. I'll let you start talking about it, Kenta.
Yeah, so the first 4 matches that happened on the first day, Pohang Steelers beat Port FC 3-0 at home, followed by Guangzhou beating Kawasaki Frontale on the road, thanks to an early penalty there. JDT winning 3-0 at home, and Central Coast, red card and a loss at home to Burian. And the other 2 matches, both J-League teams, Vissel Kobe and Yokohama FC, both winning at home against Shangdong and Ulsan HD. That was match day 2 in the East. I'll start with some of these J-League teams. Vissel Kobe, I was fairly pleased with their performance, I think. Still haven't seen enough from Yuya Osaka. I mean, he's kind of the big profile attacker on that team, former Japanese national team starting striker. Had his career in Europe for a while when he was playing over there, for like Cologne and Werder Bremen and in the Bundesliga. So, you'd expect a bit more in these big matches for a player like him to step up. Not saying he had a bad performance, just want to see a bit more, especially at home. Yokohama F Marinos, what a match. 4-0 win. Anderson Lopez, Watanabe with an early goal. So, I mean, they're looking a lot better there as well. I thought that was a really convincing win, in the same light that maybe Al Hilal's win, a 5-0 win at home was. It was a pretty convincing win against, again, an Ulsan side that coming into this before we were previewing at the start, I expected a bit more from. So maybe, again, more concern for Ulsan HD, but good win there. What else did we have? Kawasaki Frontale. Yeah, they lost at home against Guangzhou. They just couldn't finish off their chances. They had so many opportunities to equalize, to win, and they just couldn't. They just didn't. Some really key saves by Guangzhou goalkeeper. It's the Korean. It's Kim. It's a bunch of their names are Kim. Kim Hyung-min. I thought had a phenomenal match for them. And I thought some of the midfielders for that Kawasaki Frontale team, like Hachibanada, Yamamoto Yuki, I thought they played really well in that double pivot, but they just couldn't convert their chances up front, and that becomes very costly when you drop all 3 points at home. Were there any matches in the East that you were particularly impressed with or want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, a much better match day for J League clubs than the first one, I would say. Especially for Yokohama coming off that massive loss against Gwangju, to win against another Korean team, a well-known Korean team, even though they might not be in the best of situations still, they show that they are there and they're not out after just one match day. And then, yeah, also a much better performance from Vessel Kobe on the first match day. But I want to talk about JDT here. Uh, Great performance. We know that they have amazing support back in Malaysia, and they showed in this game amazing fans. And after a very impressive draw against Shanghai Port um, away in the first match, they played against the other team from Shanghai Shenhua, and demolished them 3-0 at home again. Arif Ayman scored. We talked about them in the previous episode about how dangerous he can be, how much of an amazing winger he is, and yet again he showed it. And yeah, just very very dangerous player. Another team I want to talk about is the Central Coast Mariners. Um, just didn't play well at home. Looked a bit hopeless. Had their chances here and there. Only got their goal in injury time towards the end. But yeah, lost to Buriram United, and they're not looking very good. So yeah, I think that's it for match day 2. Let's move on to match day 3, which actually just ended today as we're speaking. So we'll go back to the West region, then we'll go back to the East. So Al Shorta and Paftakor drew 0-0. This doesn't benefit any of the teams. If any of these teams wanted to qualify for the knockout rounds, they really needed a win. But unfortunately for both sides, it's going to be much, much tougher now. Assad beat Persepolis 1-0 at home with Mateus Uribe scoring towards the end of the first half. Very, very unlucky for Persepolis, similar to the game against Al Ahly. Al Ain played against Al Hilal, and Al Hilal won 5-4. We're going to talk more about this game later because this was insane. Al Ahly defeated Al Rayyan 2-1 away. Esteghlal lost 1-0 to Al Nasser in a neutral stadium in Dubai. I was at that game. Unfortunately, Esteghlal did lose, but we played very well, and I'm very proud of that performance despite our situation and especially the fact that we didn't even have a manager for this game. And then Al Wasl also got their first win after they defeated their second win. Sorry, after they defeated um, who did they defeat? Al Gharafa 2-1. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we know which game to start with. Kenta, don't you agree?
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. What a match, right? I mean, that was I mean, poor defending all around, but talk about entertainment value and just overall enjoyability from watching a match as a neutral. You're not getting much more than that Al Hilal victory. Yeah, it was a lot. It was very impressive. Al Ain, their attackers, again, like Rahimi, their striker, who had the hat trick. I mean, phenomenal performance by him. That's really disappointing for him to, not come away with any points after a performance he put in there. But yeah, Milinkovic Savic had that goal. Lodi had that goal for Al Hilal, and then a hat trick by Al Dawsari. Just Al Hilal just was just that much better in the attack. And that's the difference there in terms of getting 3 points, but highly,
Yeah.
highly entertaining.
Yeah, let me just read you out the ratings for goalkeepers and center backs for this match. We had for Al Hilal 4.4, 4.3, and 4. So for Al Ain, I mean 4.4, 4.3, and 4.8. For Al Hilal, we had 6.4, 5.6, 4.8. I mean, just horrible defending and goalkeeping in this game. But from the midfield to attack, it was pure entertainment. And yeah, like you said, Sofyan Rahimi, unlucky to not get anything out of this game. I mean, it's good for me. I mean, he's my fantasy league captain, so I got a lot of points. But unfortunately for Al Ain, they really could have used the actual points from this game. But yeah, I regret not going to this game. I was going to, but I changed plans last second. So yeah, hopefully I can experience something like this next time I go. So yeah, I'll just go through the league table in the West region before we move on to the East. So Al Hilal and Al Ahli both on 9 points, maximum points. Assad and Al Nasser are on 7 points. Al Wasl are on 6 points. Esteghlal and Al Gharafa are both on 3 points, and Pakhtakor are on 2 points. So these are the top 8 teams. So as of now, these teams will advance to the next stage. Al Short are also on 2 points, but they have a worse goal difference. Persepolis and Al Ain, surprisingly, both only on 1 point after 3 games. And then Al Rayyan with 3 losses from 3 games. But to be fair to them, they have played arguably 3 best teams so far in the Saudi teams. So I wouldn't count them out completely just yet. Just one win can get you all the way to sixth spot. So yeah, what do you think of the table?
Top four don't really surprise me, if I'm being really honest. Um, I mean, it's 8 match days. We're 3 match days in. I guess the question has to be asked of like who's already locked in to move on to the next round. There's so many spots. I mean, if you finish top 8, you're on technically into the next round. So, I mean, if we're looking at like Al Hilal, Al Ahly, like, are we just already saying that they're 100% through at this point, seeing how these other teams have been performing and how well they've been performing?
Yeah, I think I saw something before the tournament started that realistically, 9 points should guarantee you making to the next round. So I think we can already guess which teams will go to the next round. Well, some of the teams at least. So yeah, Kenta, will you take us through the games for the East region?
Yeah, I'll add one more thing in the sense that these teams, right? If you already qualify, I wonder, like Nalali, how much they'll continue to play their star players later on in the second half of their match days when they already have 15, 18 points and they have nothing really to play for in that sense. Because if like if I was the manager of a club and I had nothing to play for and I have more important matches coming up and I have league play, I'm not going to play my top players in those competitions. So if you have an Al Hilal, an Al Ali late in your calendar for this group stage, and like you need those points, and right now you're looking at this team, it's like there's no way we're going to beat them. There might be hope in that sense if they take their foot off the pedal because they're playing so well. So that might be something we revisit later on, but it's something to keep an eye on, I think for sure. In the East, yes, our last match day. Let me pull this up before I forget. Yeah, this happened today. Guangzhou won again at home against JDT. Port won at home against Central Coast. Central Coast losing again. Shandong and Yokohama F Marinos drew. Yokohama F Marinos on the road. Buriram beat Pohang Steelers at home. Vissel Kobe, the only team on the road to win this match day in the East, beating Ulsan HD in South Korea. And then Shenhua beat Kawasaki Frontale. Early red card in that match. 2-0 win at home for them. I guess I'll start with the Japanese teams as well because those are the ones I've been paying attention to. 5th minute red card in that Yokohama F Marinos or not Kawasaki Frontale match. Marcinho getting the red card for a foul after a VAR check, and that kind of just derailed the match entirely. That's what happens when even if it's just a winger and not like a center back, you lose a player that early on. It's really difficult, especially on the road against this quality side to gain any sort of momentum in the attack. And that's kind of what it felt like. I didn't really think Kawasaki certainly didn't have a lot of the ball. They didn't really create many good chances with the ball. And the home team Shenhua did. They had a ton of chances. They weren't as clinical. That's a ton of respect to Jung, the goalkeeper for Yokohama F Marinos. I thought he played an incredible match. He had 7 saves in that match. But it's just conceding 2 goals off of that many chances isn't that crazy. And it's just an unfortunate thing when you go down a man that early. Vissel Kobe on the road. Again, Ulsan, another really disappointing match. We've been talking about this like every single time, but Ulsan actually continue to just underperform. Miyashiro with a brace for Vissel Kobe. Maika with a clean sheet there for the Japanese side. Yeah, Vissel Kobe continued to play well. Back-to-back matches that I've been really pleased with their performances there. And then Guangzhou winning at home against JDT. We just talked about all these teams, but particularly with JDT, we talked about how good they were at home against Shenhua when they won like 3-0 on match day 2. They come into this third match day and just kind of really, really underperform against Guangzhou. Guangzhou have been so good. They've been really, really, really good. That's 3 wins in 3 games for them. They're looking like one of the best in this Eastern Conference or whatever you want to call it. They're the only ones with a perfect record so far in the Eastern half. Then you have Port winning against Central Coast. Central Coast continue to struggle. They're one of 2 teams without any points in the East. 3 losses in 3 matches, despite a late goal. I think in stoppage time for them, it was just too much, too little, too late. Not much you can do when you're down 2 in stoppage time in the second half. Yokohama F Marinos drew with N Shandong. I thought they were going to come away with the win. 93rd minute goal by Zheng of Shandong redeemed that the home side, and they got a point. Kind of escape with a point late, and very late from one of their center backs. Pretty even game all around. I thought Yokohama had the better of chances, but I thought Shandong also had more chances. So you talk about quality versus quantity. That's always an equation there. But I think Marinos will be disappointed considering they were leading in stoppage time to concede that really late equalizer. And then the final one, Burian winning 1-0 against Pohang at home. Pretty straightforward. I don't think there's a ton there. I thought Pohang played better, but it's the goals that matter. So
Yeah, and actually three teams I want to talk about here. First of all, Boram, as you mentioned. Um, they're obviously coached by Osmar Loss. I mentioned him before in the podcast. Very, very good manager. I know this because he was in the Iranian league last season and he won the league coming in during the winter for Persepolis. So I know what he can do, and even in the Champions League, he's shown it so far. And this game against Pohang was an amazing example. Sure, Pohang had more of the ball, they had more shots, and you could say maybe they controlled the ball and controlled the game. But out of the 11 shots, just one of them were on target. So this shows that Boram's plan worked. They closed Pohang down and didn't let them have any obvious opportunities. And it's just what this guy does. I mean, I think he has one loss in 11, 12 games for Boram, which is an amazing record. And they're looking very good in the Champions League so far. The other team I want to talk about is Gwangju FC, like you said, the only team that has 9 out of 9 points so far, as well as I want to talk about Jasir Asani, 6 goals in 6 goals in 3 games, I believe. Amazing player. I mentioned him before as well, the Albanian player. We saw him at the Euros. We saw him at the previous match days, and he just keeps on shining for Gwangju. And the sky is the limit for this team, to be honest. And they're surprising us so far, and I think it's going to continue. Last team I want to talk about is more negative. I want to talk about Ulsan HD. I think it's time for us to downgrade them to Ulsan SD. Do you agree, Kenta? I think it's time finally.
yeah, it's I don't watch a ton of the K League, but I expected so much more from them coming into this. So much more. It's been so underwhelming for them. So I yeah, they've just been, was it you or was it Arya early on that was making fun of the fact that their name
It
was
was
also on
me, yeah.
HD? But yeah, maybe they need a change in name there at this
Yeah,
point.
I think it's
Yeah,
time
so
to
yeah.
downgrade them. Not only have they gotten no points, but they haven't even scored a single goal in 3 games. They're the only team in the whole competition, by the way, to not score a single goal in 3 games. And yeah, it's not looking good for them. So yeah, they're getting the downgrade, and we're gonna move on to the AFC Champions League 2. So we'll be covering just match day 2, since match day 3 isn't completely over yet. We'll cover that in the next episode. So Kenta, would you like to take us through the results of the West region for the AFC Champions League 2?
Yeah, let me try to pull these up really quickly. We'll just go through the groups. I think that's probably the easiest way to go,
Yes.
right? We'll start with Group A, which I know one of the matches got postponed.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll go through this actually. I
Yeah.
think I should say what happened. So Traktor, we're going to host Mohan Bagan of India, and Mohan Bagan refused to travel to Iran, citing security concerns. And then basically they're withdrawn from the competition as a whole, and this group will only go on with 3 teams. I'm not gonna get too much into detail for that. I don't want to get political. I don't want to cause problems at all. But yeah, basically they didn't travel to Iran. They got kicked out, and the group will only be played with 3 teams now. So the only game that was played in that group was between Roshan of Tajikistan and Al Wakra. That game finished three. What was it?
1-0,
One
I
nil.
think,
1-0.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that game finished 1-0 in favor of Al Wakra. So they came back after their big loss against Traktor, and I think it's pretty straightforward. Teams that are going to qualify from this group. So yeah, moving on to Group B, a group where there were actually four teams. So our Air Force Club of Iraq uh, played against uh, played against Al Tawan of Saudi Arabia, and they actually won away, which was a very, very big win. And then in the other game in this group, Al Al Khalidiyya played against Al Nasir away of Turkmenistan and won 1-0. And in Group C, Sepahan, after losing to Al Hossein in the first game, won 4-0 at home against Istiklal of Tajikistan. And then in the other game, Sharjah and Al Wahdat played out an exciting 2-2 draw. Al Wahdat, I would say, are the surprise of the competition so far. A very good win against Sepahan in match day one, and then a good draw away at Sharjah. In Group D, Sharab Al Ahli got their first win of the competition. I mean, no, they actually lost. Sorry, they got their first loss of the competition, losing 2-1 away to Nasaf of Uzbekistan. And then in the other game, Al Hussein of Jordan, continuing the good result for Jordanian teams, they beat Kuwait SC 2-1. So yeah, Kenta, would you take us through the results of the East region?
Yeah, I'll take it over from here. Group E, we had Sanfrecce Hiroshima on the road against Eastern SC of Hong Kong, winning 3-2 on the road. I believe that was a 95th minute winner in that 3-2 win for Hiroshima. So stoppage time winner for them. Sydney FC win 4-1 on the road against Kaya Iloilo, I think is how you pronounce that. I don't know. Of the Philippines. 3-1, 4-1 finish there. As the Australian side won. Group F. I think we also had another postponed match in that one. I think Port FC, Lion City Sailors. I don't know what happened in that match.
I think it was due to
But
heavy rain, so it was postponed to the end
okay.
of October. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that match didn't get played. So the only one was Zhejiang of the Chinese league beating Persib Bandung of the Indonesian league at home 1-0. Group G. Or do we not have it? Yeah, Group G. There we are. Tampines Rovers won 3-1 against Liman of Hong Kong, the Singaporean side, with a pretty convincing win there at home. And then a 0-0 draw between Bangkok United of Thailand and Nam Dinh of Vietnam. The Vietnamese side hosted that match, and the two won their first matches, so now they sit, I believe, at 4 points each at the top of Group G there. And then Group H, Jeonbuk of the Korean League K-League beat Musangthong United, of the Thailand League 4-1 at home. That match, I remember watching this one. It was pretty one-sided from what I can remember. They were Jeonbuk were pretty clinical on their chances, and I guess that's pretty obvious by the four goals that they scored there. But convincing win by them, and the other one, Selangor FC. Selangor FC winning 1-0. The Malaysian side winning 1-0 against DH Cebu FC of the Philippines. And I believe they sit on top of the table. Oh no, that was today, wasn't it? No, that was I think after today's matches they still sit atop of the table, because match day 3 is going on as we speak. I get very confused with this,
No,
but I think
you
that's
can't.
match day 2. Yeah.
Very confusing to cover only 2 of the match days, but we try our best. Now sticking to club football, but moving on to the women's side, the first group stage edition of the Women's Champions League took place with 12 teams, and I guess I'll start with Group A. So Group A, we had the Incheon Red Angels of South Korea, Abu Dhabi Country Club of UAE, Wuhan Jiangda of China, as well as Sabah of Malaysia. So I would say the biggest shock maybe in the whole tournament so far has been Abu Dhabi Country Club. I mean, they're a club that came out of I would say nowhere, because women's football isn't really big in the UAE. and they don't even have a properly run league. So the fact that they showed up, first of all, qualified over Al Nassr in the preliminary stage, and then won against the Chinese team in their own ground is just absolutely insane to me. And they went undefeated. They drew their other two games and qualified as second place. So big up to them. And as someone who lives in the UAE, I'm happy to see the women's game grow here as well. And then the Incheon Red Angels of South Korea topped the group, 2 wins, a draw, a good campaign from them. Wuhan, despite losing two of their games, but a win against Sabah was enough for them to move on as one of the best third place teams. So anything you want to add, or you want to move to Group B?
No, I'll add Abu Dhabi in their win against that Chinese side. That was like two late goals for them to get that equalizer and to get that winner, if I remember
Yes,
correctly. So
both from
uh
Naima Joma. So it's not like
yes,
even
yes.
she's a non-Emirati player. Naima Joma is an Emirati player, so it's not like they're bringing all these foreigners to play for the club. No, there are actually Emirati girls playing at this club, which I find astonishing.
Yeah, no, that's it's a testament, right, to the growth of the women's game just across the continent. Yeah, massive win there, and it'll be really exciting to see how they perform after this group stage as they move on. But yeah, I think Red Angels, South Korean side for them in Jung for them to move on. No real shock there. I think this table isn't overly surprising in Group A, if I'm being honest, but Abu Dhabi, that very convincing in the group stage.
Yeah. So before I let you take over, just I want to talk about Bam Khatun in Group B because I'll be honest, these girls have nothing, man. Like the Iranian Women's League is, you could say, non-existent. I mean, there is a league, games are being played, but there's no broadcasting, there's no financial support, barely any. And this league is even barely considered to be a professional league. So first of all, we were happy that they were even competing in the group stages in the first place, and then for them to do what they did in the group stages made us all very proud. Losing only 2-1 to the Australian champions. I know maybe they played with a rotated squad, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you can't compare the sides, and then losing only 2-1 to that sort of team, and then drawing 1-1 against Kaya. They almost won that game as well, but conceded a last-minute goal. And then winning the way they did against the host team of College of Asian Scholars of Thailand. It just really made me proud. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So yeah, I'll let you take over for Group B or Group C if you want to move on.
Yeah, I mean Melbourne City Group B. That seems like a no-brainer at this point, right? I mean, it's not surprising that they won all three games, but yeah, what a big deal for them to get that win on the final match day and to be able to move on to the next stage with, I guess it's 4 points um, in total. That, yeah, very exciting. I'll move on to Group C, which has the Urawa Red Diamonds, who, oh my gosh, we'll talk about that first game in a minute, but they topped the group. Well, actually, I'll talk about this game right now. 17-0 in the first match day. I I don't even actually really know what to say. Um, I
It comes to a point where you feel bad.
oh no, absolutely. But I think the most surprising thing is like it was it was one person that scored four, one person that scored three, but everything else pretty much was like divided between that entire team. Like it's absurd. 17, man.
Yeah, I mean,
17,
10 different
17.
goal scorers and then an own goal
Yeah.
by Odisha. Just very unfortunate, and I don't think there's much we can say other than that.
I would have never expected a 17-0 score in professional soccer of a match that I was going to watch recently. That seems like more American football than, the other worldwide football. If you ask me, 17 is a very common number in American football. So, yeah. Then you had you do have a lucky loser in this group, right? That we got to move on. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, Taishang Blue Whale of Chinese Taipei.
Oh, the Taipei, yes. And so the Vietnamese side, Ho Chi Minh, also finished second in that group then, which let Odisha in last place with uh they scored a goal.
They scored a goal. That's something they have over Ulsan, you know. Both teams played 3 games. Only one team were able to score. So there's
Well,
always some
yeah,
positives to look
honestly,
at.
yeah, right, yeah. No, I completely
We'll
agree.
ignore the fact that they lost 17-0, but yeah.
If you take that one result away and just count it, chalk it as a loss, it doesn't matter if you lose 1-0 or 17-0. Like it's still 0 points. So, but yeah, we'll we'll try to move on from the 17-0 scoreline professional match in a tournament like this. But yeah, yeah, what
Yeah, I
gosh.
think so the teams that have qualified for the quarterfinals. So there's the seeded teams and the unseeded teams. And the seeded teams we have the group winners, Orawa Red Diamonds, ladies, Melbourne City, Incheon Red Angels, as well as the best runners up, which was Ho Chi Minh City. And then in the unseeded pot we have Abu Dhabi Country Club, Bam Khatun of Iran, Wuhan Jiangda of China, as well as Taishang Blue Whale. The games will be a one game a one game one-legged game, and then the semifinals and final will be held in centralized format in one of the teams' cities. So yeah, the seeded teams will obviously host the game, and the exciting times ahead for women's club football in Asia. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. Some names that I'm not surprised to see on here, and others that I didn't have on my list coming into it. So should be very exciting.
Yeah. So now we're going to move on to the Asian World Cup qualifiers, shifting to national team football. Yeah, match days 3 and 4 took place in the October window. Very exciting games. We'll start off with Group A. So the first game, Uzbekistan and Iran played a 0-0 draw in Uzbekistan. Um, the third straight draw between both these teams. They drew in both their games in the second round as well. So another draw here. And Iran did have a penalty in the last minutes of the game, but it was ruled out by VAR controversially. Some say it was a penalty, some say it wasn't a penalty. In my opinion, it would have been harsh if it was given, but you do see them given nowadays. In the second game, Qatar got their first win finally against Kyrgyzstan, 3-1 in Doha. So they got back on track, and then UAE disappointingly drew 1-1 to North Korea, and North Korea continues surprising. But yeah, very very disappointing for UAE, to be honest. They should be winning that game, especially since it is at home. So what do you make of these games, Kenta?
I'll ask you a question here. A similar question I kind of asked in Champions League play, but there are less spots. Do you, at this point, 40% way of the way through, 4 out of 10 matches played, do you see Iran and Uzbekistan dropping out of the top two? Is that a possibility?
Well, I can't see Iran dropping out, to be honest. I mean, they played against Uzbekistan away, they played UAE away, and the games they have left are very winnable, and they should not be dropping. But Uzbekistan, on the other hand, they've yet to play against Qatar 2 times. They've yet to play Iran away. They've yet to play UAE away, and they play against Qatar next. So it's very on table it looks like they have a very good lead, but one game could change everything. So I would say yes, it is possible.
Fair enough. You answered my follow-up question of like if one word of these were to not make it, who would it be? But I agree that Iran have, I think, played more difficult matches in their schedule thus far, to make them the likely team of the two to top it. But I don't really see either of them dropping out myself. I'll hit on Qatar. Their defense, man, their back line, it concerns me so much. Lucas Mendes, one of the best defenders at the Asian Cup, he's looked horrible. He's looked so bad. I worry because I know Akram Afif is still one of the best players in Asia. I know that he's still playing well. I think Almost Ali is still very good. And I think that attack, while underwhelming, hasn't been bad, but their defense has been so bad that it's putting more pressure on Akram Afif and Almost Ali to deliver more. And that's where we're starting to see this team just not get results. I really worry for Qatar. I don't know how I feel about them moving on. I think they'll get a top four spot, but it's concerning. And I think to a degree that same concern goes to the UAE. Obviously losing to Uzbekistan, and drawing with DPR Korea like at home too. Not that being on the road is anything because it would be at a neutral site, but yeah, it's just very concerning with them as well. UAE just their attack hasn't looked good at all. Outside of that, like one goal that the three goals they had against Qatar, which I've been mentioning is a horrible back line, like they didn't score against Iran at home. It was a 1-0 win for Iran. It was a 1-1 draw, so they scored, but it was against DPR Korea, and then they lost 1-0 against Uzbekistan on the road, which isn't a horrible result, but still, like the attack hasn't been there for me. They have such massive games coming up. Two matches at home in the next window against Kyrgyzstan and Qatar. They've got to get at least 4 points. They really need six there, and they need that attack to start showing up because defensively they haven't been too bad. They're not conceding that many goals. So, two teams I'm kind of concerned about. Because I feel I could see either of them dropping out of that tough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, that loss to Uzbekistan was very bad for the UAE. I mean, yeah, sure, they had a red card. And it was a very, very dumb red card as well. Just no point for that tackle. The ball was already leaving the pitch, going out. So I think after that red card, the UAE were just mentally destroyed. And Uzbekistan got that pen, which was also controversial, but we'll not talk much about that. Kyrgyzstan also got their first win of the third round, winning against North Korea in Kyrgyzstan. But yeah, I want to talk about the Iran versus Qatar game for a bit. Now, I was at that game, and oh boy, I enjoyed this game. It was like revenge. I was at the game in the Asian Cup as well. So I was like, after Qatar scored, I started getting flashbacks. I was like, no, man, not again. I can't be witnessing another loss to Qatar. But thankfully, Azmoun, the horse boy, decided to show up that day, and completely destroy that Qatar team. And the game was played in Dubai. Iran were hosting, but it didn't feel like it was in Dubai. It felt like it was in Iran with the amount of Iranians that showed up and supported the team. So big up to the Iranians in Dubai, including myself for the support. And yeah, just very good stuff by Iran. And I'm happy with that performance. And like you said for Qatar, just 10 goals conceded, the worst defensive line in this group. Not good. So yeah,
Yeah, it's not good. I'll add one more thing. I know Arya's not here to defend himself, but after that 0-0 draw against Uzbekistan, he ranted at me the entire night. We were playing FIFA. We were playing for I don't know if we were playing Pro Club. No, we would have been playing like just like Rush. Great mode, fantastic. About Asmund and like, oh, he's so horrible. Should go back to his horses. So I find that to be very funny because Sardar Asman had a phenomenal performance in the next match, 2 goals and an assist in that win against Qatar. So I know Arya, you're not here to defend yourself, but he proved you wrong. He proved you wrong.
I hope he proves them wrong even more. So let's move on to Group B, where South Korea beat Jordan away 2-0. Now, I expected a closer match, and Jordan weren't bad at all, but South Korea used their chances, and they got that win away, a very, very important away win. Oman destroyed Kuwait 4-0 in Oman, and Iraq with a 1-0 win. Ayman Hussein, who also scored their goal. And then in the other set of games in Group B, South Korea beat Iraq 3-2. And to be fair, it seems like it was a close match, but South Korea were the better side this game. And again, Ayman Hussein scored for Iraq, and I think that makes it 10 international games in a row where he scored for his national team, which is amazing. Oman, having won 4-0 in their first game of the window, lost 4-0 to Jordan. I was speaking to an Omani friend the other day. In Oman, you can never be too happy or too sad. It's always a mixture. They always try to keep things equal. Great performance from both Yazan Al Neymat and Ali Olwan, 2 goals apiece. And then Palestine played Kuwait in a 2-2 draw. Very exciting draw. Palestine were down to 10 men, but Zaid Gombar scored a last-minute header to get the draw. What do you want to say about this group?
We'll start with the only team with 10 points in this group, South Korea. Obviously, Son Heung-min hurt, not available for this window. Lee Kang-in didn't play particularly well, and then Hwang Bi-chan gets hurt early in that first match, in that 2-0 win against Jordan. It's impressive when you lose those big names for you to still perform the way they did. I think I was very critical of the hiring of Hong Min-bo when they hired him from Ulsan HD as a former coach there. And they've just been a bit more cohesive as a unit. There's not much more to be said. I think before, when I was watching the South Korean team, it felt like they were too reliant on their star players, and it feels more like a unit now, where they can still get these results despite not having Lee Kang-in playing at his best level, Son Heung-min available at all, right? I mean, that's such a massive loss. And then Hwang Ki-chan getting hurt in the first match, and then him not being available. I just there's a lot of exciting talent coming off the bench for them, young players, like Bae Junwoo, the Stoke player, phenomenal, so exciting to watch. Oh Hyun-gyu, sorry, of Genk. I think he's a fantastic talent. So I think we're seeing the incorporation of the younger players. They look exciting. They're playing in Europe over in Europe as well, which is a big deal. I think we're starting to see the South Korean side kind of reach a better potential than what we expected. So, a very impressive window by them, despite not having arguably one of the best Asian players of all time, if not the so. Fantastic window for them.
Yeah, and like I said, the fact that they don't rely on a player anymore is just very good to see, and especially when Korea got that draw at home to Palestine in the first game, people were worried, and rightfully so. I was a bit worried for them as well, but they turned things around brilliantly, and won. And those 2 wins against Jordan and Iraq, I think, kind of cements their place in the automatic qualification spots. Um, but yeah, and nothing much to add other than that in this group. I would say also it was a good window for Jordan. Yeah, they lost to Korea, but they are Korea, like we said, one of Asia's best teams. And with that 4-0 win against Oman, they took over Iraq in the automatic qualification spot, both on 7 points, but Jordan with the better goal difference. And I would say any of the other 3 teams, Oman, Kuwait, and Palestine, can get that final playoff spot. So yeah, exciting group as expected. Moving on to Group C, will you take us through the results, Kenta?
I can, and I will. Let's start here. Japan played 2 matches. Their first, they won on the road against Saudi Arabia. The other matches on that match day included Australia winning 3-1 against China People's Republic, and then Bahrain, they hosted Indonesia for a 2-2 draw. The other
Very
match
controversial game. We'll talk about that in a bit.
very, very controversial. It feels like there's always something with the Indonesian matches from this entire window. New players coming up for their national team debuts, making impacts, controversy. It's always fun and noteworthy for them. Saudi Arabia and Bahrain also played on the second match day. They drew 0-0. Australia went into Japan and took points from them, the first team to do so. 1-1 draw against Japan. And Indonesia lost to China in China. 2-1.
Wow. Um, I'll start with the Bahrain Indonesia game. I want to talk about that for a bit. And now it was a normal game. Everything was going on until injury time, where Indonesia was leading 2-1. And Ahmad Al-Kaf, very famous Omani referee. He's a referee at a lot of major tournaments, Asian Cups, World Cups. And yeah, he gave 6 minutes of injury time. Now the 6 minutes finish, and I mean he still hasn't blown the whistle. Yeah, sure, okay. Sometimes there's some wasted time in injury time, so there is some additional time to be played. Then Bahrain score in the 99th minute, and wow, the outrage was absolutely insane from the Indonesian fans. Ahmad Al-Kaf, I feel bad for him. I mean, he got his address leaked, his phone number leaked, he got threats, he got abused. I'm not gonna talk about the decision because that was all footballing, but this is personal, and I think, however bad of a mistake it can be at the end, it is a mistake. And I'm not saying this was a mistake, by the way. I personally think that, yeah, there was like 3 4 minutes wasted, including a free kick. So I think it's correct, but it doesn't matter. No one deserves that. And yeah, what do you think, Kenta?
Yeah, there's always these conversations between refereeing and like wanting better refereeing, right? Wanting transparency, wanting all these things. Okay, it's obviously a conversation over here in the U.S., but it's just a conversation pretty universally in terms of officiating, and the abuse that referees get, obviously like way crossing the line in general, across the board, but like leaking addresses, doxing, whatever you might call that, it's too much. It can't happen. It continues to happen. I don't understand how that behavior is is conceived as acceptable, right? It just doesn't make sense. If you were to put this, I know this isn't the same, but if you were to consider this entertainment business as a job, because it is for the players, right? At the end of the day, and you were to see that kind of action, like if someone underperforms or does poorly at their job and they get doxxed to the public, like that just can't. You wouldn't see that in other industries, right? Because it's not something you should be doing. It's not something that can happen. It can't be acceptable. I understand that it's a very frustrating thing, even if it's completely the wrong call, right? Which it would additional minutes. It's kind of up to the referee, as you said. Like it's not. It's at least. It's a minimum. It's not a maximum amount of time, and that's a good thing. Teams shouldn't just be able to fake injuries, take really long on resuming play. Just doing all these things, wasting time, right? Because we want to watch football at the end of the day. So harassment, refereeing, this all just has to stop. I think there needs to be more accountability and more like punishments for to kind of prevent this kind of thing from happening. It just can't happen. It continues to happen across the globe. I get officiate. If you want better officiating, then you have to you can't scare off the best referees, because that's what's going to happen. Like future prospect referees that might be the best in the world, they're potentially getting scared off when they're seeing some of the best in the world right now getting like death threats sent to them because they made one call that was, in a way, kind of not even the wrong call. Like it's up to their judgment. So yeah, referee abuse just has to stop.
Yeah, yeah. And in Indonesia, after that draw, they went on to lose to bottom place China. China got their first win of the campaign. So maybe, just maybe we'll see them in the playoff spot. I doubt so, but at least they have some hope. And then a very good window by Japan. They had two hard games away to Saudi Arabia, a game that I thought would be more balanced, but Japan won that game 2-0. just completely controlled the game very well. I think you're going to talk about that later. And then they drew against Australia in a game of own goals. So it was a bit opposite. I thought that they were going to dominate this game and lose against or have a tougher time against Saudi, but it was the complete opposite. And fair enough to Australia. I'm not sure if this is right, but I think I saw that they didn't have a single shot on target the whole game, but still managed to get that draw. And then speaking of Saudi Arabia, horrible window. They had two home games, and they got only 1 point, and that point was against Bahrain in a game where they should have won. They missed the penalty that game. I think it was Salman Tassadi who missed it again. That's like his fifth missed penalty for the national team. And if they won that game, they would have gone to second, but because of that, they dropped down to third, and Australia took over. So, yeah, tell me about the Japan games.
Japan, yeah. I don't think Japan's ever won in Saudi Arabia. Like they've had away fixtures, quote unquote away, but like it's been at the Asian Cup at like a neutral venue at a host. Like it's never been in Saudi Arabia. I thought it was a really good performance by them. Um, I I have always been a Ao Tanaka over Hidemasa Morita fan in my heart. But what a performance by Hidemasa Morita in the midfield, combining with Wataru Endo. Zion Suzuki continues to impress after that Asian Cup. I know the slander that Zion Suzuki received during that Asian Cup. It was rightfully so. It was a bad performance. He hadn't played much like senior national team games. He's 22 right now. Obviously, he was with Urawa Diamonds, made that move to Trident during for that Asian Cup. He rejected a bid from Manchester United at that time because he wanted to get minutes for the Olympics and a tournament that he ended up not playing in. Uh, Talk about that. And then he got that move to Parma this past year. I think he's been good in the Italian league. And I think there's that level of like just confidence playing against better competition and playing in a better league and just progressing through kind of the international club team kind of hierarchy, if that's even a proper way to describe it. But yeah, overall good performance. Besides maybe like Ritsu Doan for Japan in that match, I don't understand why Junior Ito's still not starting for them when he's available and he's getting called up again. Doan just wasn't giving back defensively enough for me in that kind of wide midfield wing back role, and he wasn't creating a ton either. So if it kind of felt lost in Junior Ito with this pace he comes on, he assists the second goal, and it's like yeah, he should have been here from the start. In that 2-0 win, Japan, yeah, Australia had one shot, not on target. That own goal, I still don't understand what happened. It's just such a freak goal. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. Please go check the highlights or something, because that own goal by Taniguchi, I don't understand. I don't get the physics. I don't understand. I really. It's been days. It's been so long since that happened. I still don't understand how that went in. But it's a very frustrating thing because like again, Australia had one shot and it wasn't on target, and they come away with 1 point. Like how? How? Like we scored. Anyways, Japan had 12 shots, 3 on target, so not a ton considering Australia only had one. Taniguchi own goal. I think it's Cameron Burgess of Ipswich for Australia that had that own goal on the other end. A little less of a freak own goal than the Taniguchi
Yeah,
own
that
goal,
was
but
very
yeah,
just unlucky to be honest.
yeah. Compared to the Taniguchi, I would love someone to explain to me how that went in. I yeah,
I think
I
Australia will take that away point any day of the week, especially considering
absolutely.
the way they played. Yeah. Um, so yeah, the groups are starting to take shape now, and you can kind of get the feeling of who will be qualifying for the World Cup, who will be going to the playoffs. So exciting times ahead of the November window next month. So before we end the episode, I just want to go over two things really quick. So the Kings Cup took place in Thailand. It was a friendly tournament. Thailand finished first, Syria second, Philippines third, and Tajikistan fourth. And it's just been all downhill for Tajikistan after the Asian Cup, and since Peter Sark left them. So I was excited for this team, and I thought they do better, but unfortunately they have not. And I'll just go through the teams that qualified for the U20 Asian Cup, which is scheduled to take place in Saudi Arabia next year. So it's China, Syria, Uzbekistan, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, North Korea, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Japan, Qatar as the group winners, and then Yemen, Kyrgyzstan, Australia, Thailand, and Jordan as the runners-up. So those are the 16 teams that will be competing for a spot at the U20 World Cup. So, Kent, anything you want to add on before we end the episode?
Yeah, I'll quickly touch on that third place game in the Kings Cup. Philippines winning 3-0 against Tajikistan. For the Philippines, I think that's their first win under Capelas because he recently joined them from that what's the name? It's that club in Denmark. I wouldn't be able to pronounce it correctly anyways, even if I tried. Look, I had an interview recently with Nick Marcanic, who alongside his brother Anthony are in the process of naturalizing for the Philippine national team. He's finishing up the season in the USL Championship here in the US, and he's going to have that move to La Liga 2 after the conclusion of the season, which ends like November, December, one depending on how well they do in the playoffs. To Castellon, CD Castellon in La Liga 2. So they're gonna get more reinforcements soon. I don't know what that process takes. Like it takes very long from what I know, and he started at the beginning of the year. So, but he I think would fit in really well in that front line. He's super versatile, and then you also get a really versatile defender in Anthony Marcanic, who plays for Minnesota United in MLS. Play as a left wing back, a left back, left center back. He can play anywhere on that left side of the back line. So you're starting to see some of that U.S. talent that has Philippine heritage join them. Obviously, Zico Bailey, who scored the third goal in that 3-0 win against Tajikistan, also from Cincinnati, where I'm from. Yeah, it's a fun team to watch. I wish they would still be with Jersey Bird. Their jerseys that they had with them were phenomenal, and now they're back with Puma, and it's a bit more template-y, but yeah, I think they might be a nation that we look at as they head into, I guess they have the Asian Championship up next. I think they could make some noise. I really do.
Yeah, yeah, and exciting times ahead for the Ascos or the Philippines national team. And I think their main goal right now should be to aim to qualify for the next Asian Cup. I think that'll be massive. I mean, they made it to the Virgin in 2019, but they missed out on the latest one in Qatar. So yeah, exciting times for them, and hopefully they can get the process of these players sorted out as quick as possible. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me and Kenta for today's episode, and make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all platforms. And Kenta, anything you want to add on?
Yeah. Uh, Not really. I was kind of hoping, timing wise, that we would be able to get to the third match day of AFC Champions League 2, but you know, we'll get to
Yeah,
that when we get to it.
yeah. So I'm traveling tomorrow. That's why we weren't able to do it in time, but it's okay next time. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching this episode, and see you guys next time.